would like to apologize for my last video. I don't really plan on making personal opinions about this faith or the other faith or the JWs in general. Give my opinions about, how they do things or anything. I want to base my videos on actual observed witness experiences that I've seen throughout my almost 2 decades being around the JW organization in a family setting as an outsider. On the last video, I gave my opinions on how the JW organization is going through their version of Arab Spring, where the today's technology of fast-moving information is outpacing their efforts of stifling First Amendment rights to their members that were previously or still are disfellowshipped. From a lot of videos that I've seen, yes, it is a pretty powerful tool to keep their flock in check or in obedience, I guess. And it's nice to see that a disfellowship person from down in South America could have communication and fellowship and sort of a support group with another disfellowship person up in Nova Scotia or Greenland. With today's technology, that is possible for those people to meet and to talk about their experiences, because I truly believe talking about your experiences and just, letting it out verbally is a form of therapy. This video, I just want to respond to a ever increasing comment about why don't you just leave, or, a suggestion of why don't you tell her this, why don't you tell my wife that, and pretty much be the man and take reins of, control of the family and just lay the law down. And some of it is from people that I think that were never part of the Jehovah Witnesses, so they don't really understand what's at stake. And there's a small percentage, and I cannot validate this, but it seems like they were ex-Jehovah Witnesses or are disfellowship, or I don't know what the case may be, but they seem to forget what are the consequences of taking such a heavy-handed attitude towards my situation with my wife being within the organization and my family, and how I, as a so-and-so called free person or worldly person, cannot really directly interface with these people in their level. So let me give you a snapshot on what I'm facing, on what the innocent collateral damage that would happen if I take a heavy-handed attitude towards my situation and step up and take control, or anything to that effect, and not taking my sort of passive-aggressive, coy attitude and just nitpicking around the edges of vulnerability at the society and their control over my family, or mainly my wife. You see, a little history about my wife is that she's practically third generation JW. So her grandparents, I think, were converted while they were young, or very young. At least one or both father and mother side. The mother-in-law, she's full-fledged from birth, JW, card-carrying JW. The father-in-law, he converted, I think, at early 20s. So he wasn't in it all his life, but talking to him and interacting with him, you couldn't tell. You would think he was, Judge Rutherford's right-hand man. Probably not as shrewd as Rutherford, but he's lockstep into the dogma, but not totally fanatical, in my opinion. Then the rest of her nearby and extended family are practically all Jehovah Witnesses, all of them, just about. So that we're talking about grandparents, uncles, Her parents, of course, on both sides of the family, including, first cousins, second cousins, the whole gamut, the whole family is JW saturated. There's only maybe a handful, pretty much a handful of relatives that are not. They're either not baptized or not, not active, in a sense. They have sort of, personal problems that prevent them from, becoming full-fledged baptized JWs. And I think their attitude is that they really don't believe it, and they just go along with it to have that relationship with their family. But as a non-baptized member, you're pretty much in the world of purgatory, where you're in, but you're not. The rules that apply to a baptized person doesn't apply to a non-baptized person. So a non-baptized family member have quite a bit of sort of freedom compared to the baptized people, where as far as my side of the family, they're clear across the nation, the opposite end of the continent, so they don't have that familiar interactions out here with me. I'm the only one out here. So she doesn't get that perspective of sort of worldly family living. But we have gone, to visit quite often. And, of course, my family opened their arms wide and open and celebrated in song and dance, if you will, towards my wife. I mean, totally loving, accepting, and all the good things that come with that. So that there's no issue there whatsoever. My family loves my wife unconditionally, and they know about her religious affiliation and stuff like that, and it really doesn't matter. But I think, like other worldly people, my side of the family really doesn't know the nuts and bolts workings of the organization and their, subtle abuses that lingers within their organization. So with that setting on my wife there, where all of her families, all of her friends, all her known social networks is JW affiliated, everything. She's a stay-home mom, so really there's really not much, workplace sort of relationship. So with that stage set, how do you think my wife is going to react to my heavy-handed actions? She's going to have to make a choice between me or the organization. Not only the organization, but her whole family and friend network here, because she still has plenty of friends from other cities that we lived at before. They still keep in touch, and whenever they crisscross paths, they stay over or we stay over there, and that sort of thing. But she would lose that. She would lose her friend network system there, her networking there. She would lose practically her whole known family, except for maybe a handful that are in other cities. So they're not here to give her that sort of moral support here as well. All she would have is me. And she's not really willing to give all that up. I mean, it's a pretty huge pill to swallow. And, of course, it's by design by the Watchtower organization. That's why they want the whole family to be converted over to the Watchtower. They tried for years to try to get me to go to meetings and look at a video, produce a video that they have, or a special article on a magazine or something like that, and I flatly denied it. I mean, they have also tried sort of asking my wife on their behalf to invite me to their so-called special talk they're having that particular evening. That's, I'm pretty sure, is tailor-made for worldly spouses or whatever to come to this particular meeting, and they'll have a presentation on just that subject, on why it should not be a unbalanced or uneven yoke in the matrimony or whatever. They're trying to use everything that they have to justify their way of living or joining their particular organization. The organization has a comeback for everything that their members might encounter there, out there in the worldly scenario there. That's including family members that are not in the faith, husbands that are not in the faith, pretty much anybody that's not in the Jehovah Witness faith. They have a comeback as to how they will react to a faithful JW member when that other person is trying to tell them, the truth about the truth, or why don't you research this on this website here, or I found a article, anything opposing to the Watchtower organization. They have a comeback or protocol to counteract that opposition to their dogma from the get-go. So if you're a study and you're, let's say, 20 years old, you're studying with this JW couple that's sort of has taken you under your wing, within one or two or three meetings of them, depending how you are progressing in their dogma, they will kind of let you know that, hey, family members might be opposed to what you're doing here because of this, and don't worry about it, don't listen to them, because that's the devil trying to stumble you from, realizing the so-called truth, or something to that effect. They'll use the Bible and its passages to justify almost anything, to oppose the voice of reason or any opposition to their dogma. And I'm sure they have quite a few chapters for worldly spouses out there as to, because that's a huge influence on the so-called faithful JW person. That's going to be their biggest sort of challenge, is to either try to counteract the effects of the worldly spouse or try to bring the worldly spouse into the fold within the JW organization, which in turn will be more sort of bedrock or more of the a few more iron bars on your captivity, because then if the husband or wife is converted to JW, then he in fact will be the spy within the families, the organization's spy within the family, to keep tabs on you if you have any sort of disagreement with Watchtower dogma. So the bottom line, they are prepared, coached, and ready to respond to any opposition to the JW dogma. It's a great part of their teachings, I would imagine. And I've gone through enough meetings and conventions and assemblies to figure out that's a big chunk of their teachings, as to how to oppose the world and any influences out there within the world. So knowing that, and knowing my wife's personality and her attitude, her current state of mind, she is a dedicated, fully indoctrinated JW person. I mean, from birth, 3 generations, the whole social network that she's ever known lives, breathes, and eats JW. So I have quite a bit of challenges to overcome. That's why mostly I concentrate my efforts towards my children. I could at least implant some seeds into them and stumble them into thinking for themselves and making their own determination of what's right and wrong as far as that's concerned. That's a whole other matter there. But as far as my wife, I can't really confront her directly. I would have to sort of use JW dogma to sort of breach and go around that high defensive wall that they put up even towards their own family. So basically, I know the rule book. I've read the policy. I heard the policy. I see what their reactions will be. I know the outcome if I go a bit too strong. I know the justifications that they will use against me to sort of get what, prevent me from doing any sort of influence subtly. I mean, they never encounter you directly. They would have to do things on the sly. So, like I said, I know their playbook, so I use their own playbook against them to my advantage. I would have to say that my reputation within the congregation here, I mean, as far as people that are talking to me directly, and I'm just a nice person that they're so thrilled that they let their spouse, my wife, do what she wants within the congregation and not, pose much of opposition, voiceful oppositions that they sort of expect from a worldly person, like, maybe a snotty, answer to a question, or, like, oh, hell no, get that out of my face kind of attitude as far as, literature being presented towards me. I'm very polite. I would reason with them logically as to why I do not want to abide by their regulations. Except towards my in-laws. I'm pretty nasty towards them because they can wear it down on your nerves quite a bit, and knowing what they have done to my wife throughout her lifespan so far is pretty diabolical in my opinion. So I am pretty nasty towards the mother-in-law as much as I can, subtly, and I press her buttons a lot, let's just say. And I actually use my kids to press her buttons. I would say stuff around my kids where I know the kids will relay that information over to the mother-in-law, and then, cause somewhat of a rift there. It'll cause her some sleepless nights, let's just say, and I'm fine with that. Because, in fact, the mother-in-law uses the children against us. It's weird, but I'm having fun with it, so don't worry about it. And the kids, they're innocent and sort of aloof about the whole thing, so it's not like, they're being, involved in such a way. But, yeah, so that is why, I have to tread lightly. I have to walk on eggshells, but carry a big stick. I'm in a position where I'm vastly at the advantage. I'm working behind enemy lines, if you will. I'm a fly in the wall. They talk around me, their JW lingos like I'm not even there, and I'm just soaking it all in with family and all that. And I use that to sort of plan my next phase of course of action to take to sort of bring my wife into a self-realization. But like I said before, and what so many other ex-JW members have said, that those people that are heavily indoctrinated will have to have that moment in their lives where they have hit rock bottom and the truth is undeniably irrefutable. My wife hasn't seen that yet, and don't worry, I got plans set to sort of introduce those ideas. And luckily, the organization as a whole, especially that jw.org thing, is doing my dirty work for me.